Now, being from Chicago,
Yeah.
I'm sure when middle class family?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so middle class, hardworking family, and young Joseph Anthony Mantegna, because I'm Joseph Anthony Sabatino, and because you're Italian, and if your first name's Joseph, your middle name is Anthony.
Yeah,
it's just that's the way it's going.
It's pretty much a done deal. Yeah,
it's a done deal, right? So now, when do you make a decision that you want to be an actor, and what is your father?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a funny question. There was no more reason for me to be an actor than The Man in the Moon. It was not on my radar. It was not on. No one in my family was in show business. I'm in Chicago. I'm at that point. I'm in high school in Cicero, Illinois. It was at the time it seemed like a great place to grow up, and it's fine. But not. Nobody would accuse it of being the cultural hotspot of the nation.
Right.
I mean, Al Capone was their biggest export.
Right.
At that point.
Exactly.
So here I am going to high school there. I think I'd only seen one play in my life at that point, that my brother took me to because he had an extra ticket when he took his girlfriend type of thing. So I had no more thinking about being an actor in The Man in the Moon. But what had happened is the movie West Side Story had come out. And that I could relate to.
It's an Italian thing, I'm telling you.
I see the movie and I go, well, yeah, I understand that. I mean, these are gangs beating the hell out of each other.
I keep telling them that's my favorite show, West Side Story.
So I mean, West Side Story, I wound up seeing it like 11 times when I was a kid. I'm like 16 years old, this movie comes out, I'm thinking, and they're singing and dancing and wow, oh my God.
What was your favorite song in West Side Story?
Well, I mean, I liked them all. There was Maria, there was, When You're a Jet. I mean, all
of them good.
I mean, ironically, in fact, this is, and I swear to God, this is the honest to God truth. When I leave here, what I have to go to next is the cast of the movie West Side Story are doing a book on themselves, on the history of West Side Story, and I'm going to do an interview for it because they know about my connection. Yeah, but anyway, the reason why this is happening is because I saw that movie, I loved it. I saw it 11 times. I still remember that I saw it 11 times. Because back in those days, you can just stay, as you know, you stay in a movie theater. As long as you didn't leave, you didn't have to pay again.
I got to just tell you, my favorite song on that show? Something's coming,
I don't know what it is, but it is
gonna be great. Around the corner,
could be, who knows?
Is that great?
But they're all every song. It's Leonard Bernstein. Everything was great. I mean, it was Sondheim and Bernstein. It was great.
They can't do shows like that anymore.
No, but anyway, I go to my high school one day, and I see big signs at the high school saying, we're having auditions for West Side Story. And I went, auditions? I go, it's a play? I didn't know it was a play.
Oh, that's
I mean, I said I knew it was a movie, but when it's a play, and they're saying, oh yeah, it's a play, and they wanted everybody to audition. To make a long story short, I go home, I learn to listen to the record, I learn a couple of songs, and I was playing a lot of baseball then, and so another guy in the baseball team, he and I dared each other to audition. Let's go audition. Come on, they want everybody to audition, let's go. So we get down there, and I remember walking into that little theater where they had the auditions at night, and I'm looking around and I see the lights on, and I'm like, I felt like I was in another world. Like I didn't even know the school had a little theater. And I was like, I thought it was another planet. Now the other guy I was with, he bailed. He says, I'm not doing this. This is too weird. People are running around in black leotards. Who are these people? I'm out of here. He bails. And I'm thinking, you know what? I've gone this far. I learned the song. I got to at least go do this. So they call my name.
You got him like a lion. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I got up there. I jumped on stage, and they says, okay, Mr. Mantegna, here you go. Bing, bing, start the song. I can't even see the audience because with the footlights and the lights and the thing and the piano player. I'd never done anything like this before in my life. I finished the song, and I hear this applause coming from the darkness. And all I could tell you, it was like, ding!
Really?
It was like something clicked in my head, and I said to myself, oh my God, I want to do this more than I want to do anything in my life. And you know what, Joe? I haven't looked back from that moment. I knew at that second, that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Now,
and how old were you at that time?
I was 16.
Wow.
And I walked off the stage, and I was like in a daze. And people were saying, "Oh, nice job, good. You know, they're going to list the cast tomorrow." I couldn't sleep that night, thinking, "Oh my God, why am I so nervous? 24 hours, I didn't even know this existed, and now I'm like nervous about this thing." I come to school the next day, and I don't even tell my friends because I figure they're going to think I'm crazy. They go, "Would you try it out for what?" I go and look on the list. My name's not on the list for the cast, and I'm devastated. I'm like, "Oh my God, I didn't make it." And now I'm thinking, why am I devastated? I didn't even know, again, I didn't even know this existed, and I'm taking it so hard. That's when I realized this is important to me. So I went and sought out the head of the drama department and said, look, I know I didn't get cast in your play, but I feel like I got to be doing this stuff. And thank God, it was a wonderful, it was a wonderful drama department at the school at that time.
Right.
They understood, they got it, they saw in me that this is somebody, that
gosh.
I had gotten the Thunderbolt. I got that Al
Right.
Pacino,
Yeah.
Godfather Thunderbolt,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
but instead of a girl, it was a professional.
Right. No,
So
that's cool.
I started, I went right into acting, the drama class then. They put me in one of the drama classes.
Right.
And I really, from that point on, I haven't looked back. I never thought twice about what I would want to do for a living.
So now you're in Chicago. You're this young guy, and now your mother, father, your family knows. Hey,
Right.
I want to be an actor. How was that received? Because I know, my
Yeah.
father was like, the Italian with this guy, acting. What is that?
That's
Go get
right.
a job.
I got to tell you, I have an older brother. My brother's 8 years older than I am. And in many ways, my dad had been fairly ill his whole life. So my dad passed away when I was about 22, 23. So my brother had a lot to do with raising me, being the father figure in many ways in my family. So I remember, though, that they never said much of anything. I started doing the plays in high school and then junior college, and I went to a couple years acting school.
Right.
And my parents never, it was always like, they'd come to the plays and never said anything. And then my dad passed away. Right after, my first professional job was to play Hair.
Right, okay.
In 1969.
Yeah, right, okay.
I did play Hair, and then that started my professional career. And thank God my dad finally was able to see that. That was the first thing I had done, and then he passed away shortly thereafter. My mom's going to be 95, though, in September.
God bless.
So,
Good.
so she's
God
still
bless.
kicking in there. But
Good.
I asked my brother, actually not that long ago, maybe about 10 years ago, I said to him, you know what, I've always wondered about this. Mom and Dad never said a word about me being an actor, which, just like you said, it would be not on their radar either, back then. In the 60s. Like your kid wants to be in everybody else's. I'm going to go work for General Motors. Oh, I'm going in the Army. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor. What are you going to be, an actor?
Yeah.
But I said, they never said anything. And I said, did they ever talk to you about it? And my brother said, well, yeah, they did. He said, early on, my parents pulled my brother aside, knowing he was like the mouthpiece to me. Right. They said, Ronnie, listen, your brother, what's with this acting stuff? Should we stop him?
Oh my God.
And thank God my brother in his wisdom said to him, he said, look, it's not dangerous. Let him pursue it. And if he gets bored with it, if it turns out to be nothing, he'll just go on to something else. He's not stupid. And if it, long as it keeps him entertained and it doesn't cause any problems, just let him go. And I think they were relieved. They didn't want to have to, it's like getting that sex education talk from the parents that they don't want to give you.
Exactly.
They're better like, oh, okay, great. Now they were off the hook.
That's great. That's great. But now, so did your career, just when you did Hair, did it just go from job to job to job? Because you're one of those actors that it seems like you're in everything. Every year, you're in some movies, some shows, some movies.
Yeah.
Some
Well,
shows.
maybe it appears that way, but actually after Hair, it was still a struggle. I mean, I jokingly say I was like about a 15-year overnight success. Because in the sense that I started...
Did you really have to... It was
well, I did Hair, then I got cast in the show. I thought I was going to be doing musical comedies for a long time. I did Godspell after that. Then I did Studs Terkel's play Working on Broadway, which I even have 2 songs on the album that James Taylor wrote. I always thought that was going to be my ticket to show business, was musicals.
Really?
But during that time, I also did, I was with a theater company in Chicago called the Organic Theater Company with people like Dennis Franz.
Dennis told me a lot because from NYPD books.
Exactly.
Told me all about that
My
company.
dear friend, we were together, he and I, Meshack Taylor was another member of that company. Keith
gosh, he's in Michael Mann's new show. The white hair. Dennis Farina?
Dennis Farina wasn't in the Organic Theater, but we worked together in Chicago a lot. Yeah, Dennis Farina. A lot of us worked together in Chicago. But the other guy I worked a lot with in Chicago was David Mamet, the writer David Mamet.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. So I used to do a lot of his early stuff. So then what happened is, years later, I'm still a struggling actor, had gone to Chicago, New York, now moved out to LA with my wife. Thought, well, let's try LA. I was doing little bit parts here, a little something here, something. I get the call from David Mamet saying, hey, I'm doing this new play. I'd done all this stuff for him in the past. He said, why don't you come to Chicago? If the play's successful, we're thinking of taking it to New York. That's the play Glengarry Glen Ross.
Who'd you play in it?
I'm with Ricky Roma. I was the original Ricky Roma.
Yeah, everybody.
So anyway, I do it in Chicago. We take it to New York, Broadway. The show runs on Broadway. I win the Tony Award for the role. The show wins a Pulitzer Prize. This is 1984.
Oh my gosh.
It changed my life. That's what I meant about being an overnight success. I'd been banging around for 15 years at that point, but that show, and I wound up doing it for a year on Broadway, then toured for 6 months around the country with it.
Oh my gosh.
that show changed my life because that kicked me into another thing. I started doing movies after that and television and, you know, cable thing. I mean, whatever. That opened up. But you're paying your dues.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about. That's what, you know, my advice to young actors, to other actors would be that you just do the work. You go out there and do it. You don't, everybody hopes for, I put it this way. I always use sports analogies because I'm a big sports fan. You probably do too. The goal is to play in the major leagues. So in other words, that had always been my goal. Right. In other words, to work at this, work in the minors, do this stuff, worked in community theater, worked in you know, theater company, doing plays in high school, junior college, just like you would as an athlete. You do it in high school, you do it in college, you do it on a low level, you go into the minors, you know, whatever you want to call it. But then if you get that break where all of a sudden you're in the big leagues, meaning you're out doing like theater, let's say like Broadway, or you're doing films or television, now you're in the big leagues. As to where you fall in the big leagues, you have no control over. You don't know if you're going to be Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or Lou Gehrig, or they're going to think of you as, you know, Barry Bonds. That doesn't matter. You're playing in the highest level you could play, and that's the goal. So in other words, you study your craft, you get as professional as you can be and do the work, and then where you wind up will take care of itself. Right. In other words, you have no control over that. I don't know. When my career is said and done, I've been doing this now professionally over 40 years now. So when it's said and done, you know, the public will decide, oh yeah, Joe Mantegna, I kind of liked him, and da-da-da, or da-da-da, or some people may say, you know what I mean? People will decide where you fall in, but it doesn't matter. I'm just so grateful and feel so blessed that I've been able to do this as long as I've been doing it.
You know, so for someone that's been in this business for so long, you have such, I mean, I'm just feeling your energy. You are probably the most relaxed guy I ever met in town. But it's just, you, for new actors coming out to California, do you suggest them getting into classes or getting into plays, or how would you?
Well, you know, any and all of it. In other words, but do something. I think what you're saying is absolutely right. Get in a class, get in a play, get in something, do something. In other words, don't. A lot of people think, well, I got to get out here. I got to quickly try to find an agent, and then I'll sit by the phone and when the agent calls me, I'll go out for auditions. That's not how it works. Right. You throw a rock up in the air here, and it'll land on somebody who's an actor, or a producer, or a writer.
Exactly. Well said.
So how do you take yourself out of the crowd? You take yourself out of the crowd by doing things. When I moved out here, a bunch of us, like Dennis Franz, myself, we had experience working together as doing theater in Chicago. We mounted those plays here. We did a little play here, a little play there. Maybe an agent would see it, and you'd pick up an agent that way, or somebody would see you in a play and say, oh, you know, I got this bit part in such and such. One thing leads to another. That's what paying your dues are about. Yeah. So in other words, as long as you do something, so that each day, at the end of the day, you can say to yourself, okay, I've done something to improve myself. I either took a class, I read a book, I watched a film about acting, I went and interviewed somebody who gave me advice, I sent out resumes. So long as you could positively say each day you did something, then beyond that, just enjoy yourself. Don't get so wrapped up. Don't make yourself crazy. Just, you know.
That's fantastic. You know, I got to tell you, you know, time is short here, and I know you're running around and you got to do your thing, but I just want to say, Joe, it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. I feel like I made a friend.
You did make a friend.
You are a true gentleman.
Thanks,
so,
Joe.
On behalf of myself, Joe Sabatino, and Mr. Joe Mantegna, we here at Actors Reporter and the Show Interviews say thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Buonasera. Ciao.